Alright guys, so now we're going to start to implement Firebase with our Angular application. We're going to use something called AngularFire2. This is the official library for Firebase and Angular 2, but it's also been upgraded for Angular 4. Okay, there is no AngularFire 4, so don't even bother trying to look for it. At least at this time. I do think that it is in development, but AngularFire 2 is absolutely fine to use with Angular 4. Okay, so what we're going to do is run this npm command because we want to install Firebase. We also want to install AngularFire2. Once we do that, we need to basically bring in a bunch of stuff. This doesn't really show us what we're going to do. We're going to bring it into a service, okay? In this example, they're using it in a component in a very simple situation, but we're going to be building a service to interact with our client database, our client collection. So let's go ahead and install those two things. I'm just gonna close these up here, these files, and let's open up the terminal. And we're gonna run npm install Firebase AngularFire2 and then -- save. Alright, and then another thing we're going to do is generate a service. Okay, so we're going to have a client service that's going to just deal with the client database in Firebase. So let's go ahead and do ng service, and that's going to go into services / and then we're just going to call it client. Alright, so let's run that. Okay, now we have to go to our app.module file. Remember, everything that we create has to be put into that file. So we're going to bring in a couple things from AngularFire2. Let's go above I'm just going to add some comments here. So these will be component imports, and then we'll do AngularFire imports. So first thing we're going to bring in is something called AngularFire module, which is like the main module. So AngularFire module, and that's going to be from AngularFire2. Okay, the next one is going to be AngularFire database. This takes care of interacting with our databases and collections. Okay, that one is going to be from, let's see, it's going to be AngularFire2 / database. And then we also have one for the auth, for the authentication. So we're going to say import AngularFire auth. Oops. So AngularFire auth, and that's going to be from AngularFire2 / auth. All right, so we're bringing these three things in, and then we need to import these down here. Actually, before we do that, we have to add our credentials for our Firebase. So we're going to go let's go below the routes, and we're going to say export const. Actually, let's look at the documentation. I think we can just grab that. So installation and setup. Let's see. I guess they don't have it. All right, that's fine. You know what? We'll just type it out. So we'll say export const Firebase config and set that to an object, and then we can actually grab it from our Firebase console. If we go back to, I think it's overview, and then we go to add Firebase to your web app, and I'm just going to grab this right here, everything that's in this config object. So starting with the API key down here, and yours will be all different. Okay, you just want to make sure you grab yours, and then we're going to put that right in here in this Firebase config. And then the only thing we don't need here is I think it's this right here, the project ID. So I'm actually going to get rid of that. All right, and then everything else should be good. So let's continue with adding the stuff to ng module. So for the imports right here, let's go right below the router module. and we'll say AngularFire module, and then we want to do dot initialize app, and then we want to pass in that Firebase config that we just created, just like that. And then the other two things, the AngularFire auth and AngularFire database, those are going to go inside of the providers. Okay, so AngularFire auth, AngularFire database, those two will go in providers. Alright, now we also have to bring in our client service that we just created. So I'm going to go under the components and I'll put another comment. Let's say service imports. So that's going to be what? Client service from dot slash services slash client dot service. And then that's a service, so that needs to go in the providers as well. Alright, and that should be good for now. So this file can get quite large depending on the size of your application. You can see we have quite a few imports here. But it does give us a nice centralized place to bring all this stuff in. Alright, so now we're going to go to our service, our client service that we created. And we need to bring in a couple things from AngularFire2 database. Okay, remember we have the AngularFire module, we have the AngularFire2 database, and we have the AngularFire2 auth. This is going to be, we're going to work with the database here. So let's say import. Okay, and we want to bring in AngularFire database. And then we also want to bring in Firebase list observable and Firebase object observable, because when we fetch the clients from the Firebase, we want to return it as a special type of observable. So we have to bring that in. So Firebase list observable and Firebase object observable. Okay, so the list is going to be when we get all the clients, and then the object is going to be for if we get one client from the Firebase. Alright, and then let's see, we're also going to bring in the standard observable. Okay, and that's going to come from reactive extensions. So RxJS. Oops, forgot the semicolon up here. And then let's see, let's go down to our service class, and we're going to create a property called clients and set that to Firebase list observable. And then for the type in here, we're just going to say any, and it's going to be an array. Alright, and then let's do client, and that's going to be Firebase object observable with the type of just any. Okay, no array. Now, since we brought in Angular Firebase or Fire database, we need to inject this as a dependency into the constructor. So in here, let's see, we'll say public, and we'll just call this AF, and then we'll set it to Angular Fire database. Okay, and then what we want to do is fetch our clients from the database, and we're going to do that in the constructor. So let's take this dot clients. Okay, so we're taking this right here, this property, and we're going to set it to this dot AF, meaning this right here, AngularFire database, and then that has a method called list, and we want to put in here the collection that we want, which is going to be clients. Okay, remember we created the clients in our Firebase, and we just want to get that as a Firebase list observable. Okay, and then we're going to give that a type. Whoops, we're going to give that a type of client, and that's going to be an array. Okay, now it doesn't know what this is yet. We have to bring this in. We have to create this. And it's just going to be an interface. Okay, so what I'll do is create a folder in the app folder called models, and let's create a file here called client.ts, and this is going to be very simple. So we want to export an interface called client, and Firebase has what's called a key for each entry, or each client in our case, which is kind of like a unique ID. Now I'm going to make all of these optional just so we don't get any strange errors, and we do that with a question mark, and then this is going to be of a string type. Okay, we're also going to have a first name string. I'm just going to copy this. So we'll have first name, we'll have last name, we'll have email, phone, and then we'll also have a balance for each client. Alright, and the balance I'm actually going to make a number. Okay, we'll save that, and then that should be all we need for now. So let's close that up, and let's bring that in here. So we'll say import client, and let's see, that's going to be from, we're going to go outside of the services folder, inside of the models, inside of client. Alright. And then the last thing I'm going to do here for now is create a function under the constructor called getClients, and then all we have to do here is just return this dot clients. Alright, so it's going to return what we fetch here from Firebase. So let's save that, and then we're going to go into let's see, we're going to go into our components folder, and then let's go into the clients component. Okay, so in the TS file, and we're going to bring in the service we just created. So let's say import client service, and that's going to be in services / client.service, and then we have to add that as a dependency right here. So let's say public client service, set it to capital C, client service. And then what we'll do is we'll create a property in the class called client, and let's set that to client array. Okay, now it doesn't know what this is. We need to bring in the model we created. So let's say import client from, and then we're going to do .. / models / client. Now, when this component initializes, we want to fetch the clients through the service, through this right here, this get clients. So let's go into ng on init and say this dot client service dot get clients. Okay, now this is going to be an observable, so remember we have to subscribe to an observable, and then in here we'll call this clients. This is what it's going to give us, and then we just want to set this dot clients equal to the clients that are returned from the service. Now, just to test it out, just to see if it actually came back, let's do a console log of this dot clients. Okay, so we'll save that. Now, the clients component isn't being loaded anywhere. What I want to do is stick it inside of the dashboard. Let's see what's going on here. Let's see, failed to compile, services clients. Looks like I got some kind of syntax error in the services file. Let's see. Oh, I didn't put a from here. So this should actually be from AngularFire2 / database. Alright, so that should fix that error. Alright, now we want, like I said, the clients component, we want to stick that right in the dashboard. So let's go into the dashboard HTML file right here, and we're just going to get rid of that, and let's say app-clients and save. Alright, so now if we go back and we take a look at the console, you'll see that we're actually getting two objects here, and there we go. So there's John Doe, and then this object is Steve Smith. So these are the clients that are coming from our Firebase, if we look at the database here, you'll see we have our 2 clients. So we're now able to fetch the data. Now, if you did not change the rules right here to true, and you kept them as whatever they were, auth equal to null or whatever, you're not going to be able to see your data coming in here. It's going to say something about not being authenticated, or you don't have permission or something like that. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have those rules set, at least for now, just so you can tell if you're actually able to get the data. Alright, so now that we know that we can actually fetch the data from Firebase, in the next video we're going to take that data and we're going to put it into a table in the client's component.